もし我が領土を守護し我に天下を握らせるならばそれより他に我が手に入るものをやろう。よいか、何でもだ。そなたたちの好きなものを取るがいい。返答やいかに。
It doesn't get more macabre than this. A child's born missing most of his body parts as a result of his father having made a pact with demons and offered him as the ultimate sacrifice. He somehow survives his catastrophic birth and years later sets off on a journey to slay the demons that left him less than human and retrieve his lost body, one part at a time. This forms the crux of the story of Dororo, which aired in January 2019 and went on to become one of the year's most popular anime. The young boy is called Hyakimaru. Monsters, demons, and spirits in the form of humans and animals abound in the world he inhabits. This landscape's made bleaker with the story set in Warring States-era Japan, when rival clans laid waste to the land, leaving only death and devastation in their wake. Hyakimaru's traveling companion, an orphan child named Dororo, who gives the story its title, is the small flicker of light in his otherwise dark world. Dororo. Now, here's some trivia for you. Did you know that Dororo's the second coming of a 1969 classic written and animated by the late great Osamu Tezuka, famously called the godfather of manga? The new 24-episode saga takes a slight detour from the original anime and the source manga, and a few liberties with the story, while keeping its central premise intact. It also retains its brooding darkness. While this retelling of an old story may not have been on the radar of most anime fans ahead of its release, Dororo 2019 still managed to grab plenty of attention in a stellar year of new and old favourites. It got mine, which brings me to my video today, why you should watch Dororo 2019. Dororo has lots of badass action and a thoroughly pleasing art style with all the demons, monsters, spirits and ghosts you could ask for, if that's your thing. In fact, it wouldn't be far out to say Dororo 2019 is like a video game where the hero's on a monster-killing quest. To recap, the anime begins with Daigo Kagemitsu, a feudal lord making a pact with 12 demons for the wealth and prosperity of his land. In exchange, he tells them they can have anything. That just happens to be his newborn son. Taken by the demons as their offering, the deformed babies abandoned by his parents and left by a river to die. Baby Hyakimaru is a bit of a monster himself. The old anime describes him as being caterpillar-like, while in the new version, he has a creepy skeletal form with flesh, bones and blood, but no skin, eyes, nose or mouth. The baby is rescued by Jukai, a traveling doctor who gives him artificial limbs and a painted mask for a face. Growing up, Hyakimaru develops superhuman strength and fighting prowess, and an innate ability to attract all sorts of demons. Seeing this, Jukai fits his prosthetic arms with sharp blades to help him fight the dangerous creatures. The demons Hyakimaru fights on his journey are a window to the legendary yokai of ancient Japanese folklore, their tales passed down through generations by word of mouth. If you watch anime and read manga, you may be familiar with many of the creatures that inhabit the rivers and mountains, seas and forests of Dororo's world. There's the nine-tailed fox demon Kyubi, who you may have met in a certain anime featuring a blonde-haired, orange-clad ninja. The sludge monster that leads to the first meeting between Hyakimaru and Dororo bears a striking resemblance to the stink monster in Studio Ghibli's acclaimed Spirited Away. Similarly, the Jorogumo's a yokai with the form of a spider that can transform into a lovely young woman, while the Amano-jaku's more adept at making mischief than causing harm. They're all familiar faces. The demon-heavy narrative of Dororo is also a sign of the times Tezuka was living and working in. When he created Dororo, Japan was in the throes of a thriller manga craze, more specifically, a love for stories about demons and monsters. This was largely due to the success of Shigeru Mizuki's iconic manga and animation series Spooky Kitaro. Kitaro, the titular character, is a one-eyed, half-human boy who, with the help of a ragtop group of yokai friends, goes about rescuing humans. Like Tezuka, Mizuki borrowed heavily from old tales he had heard in his childhood, and by liberally using them in the works he created, he's credited with single-handedly resurrecting these creatures of lore and making them part of modern Japanese pop culture. Demons aren't all that's cool about Dororo 2019. There's another aspect of the anime that's highly pleasing to the eyes, and that's its art style. It's a big departure from Tezuka's art, which has a definite Walt Disney feel to it. Let's just say the new art style's more appropriate for a modern audience. However, let's not forget that it's the original character designs that gave the new production a strong base to work off.
あの人の髪に
Hyakimaru and Dororo retain most of their original designs, except for the funny hairstyles they sported in 1969. There are small differences here and there. For example, the new Hyakimaru's slimmer and more boy-like, unlike his buffer original self. Given that the way he also behaves is different, this change in appearance makes sense. In the old anime, he's self-assured, emotionally expressive, and angrier. His 2019 avatar's aloof, not quite as angry, and seems more innocent. This probably has to do with one big difference in the way the character's being portrayed in the two anime. In the old anime and the source manga, Hyakimaru can talk from the very first episode and chapter, apparently having learned to speak from his stomach, whatever that means. In the new anime, he's realistically mute and starts speaking only when he regains his voice after fighting with a demon. Then too, progress is slow. At first, he can just about say names. Later, even at his most talkative, he struggles with full sentences.
俺の手で触る。俺の目で見る。俺も感じる。ドロロと同じに。
The original Dororo was black and white. The new one gets to play with color, and this greatly adds to the viewing experience. Dororo 2019 uses color palettes cleverly to tell its story. Dull browns and greens show a war-ravaged country where death's always around the corner and only famine, disease, and poverty thrive. The palette switches to bold crimson to show battlefields dyed with the blood of fallen soldiers, or the murderous souls of demons Hyakimaru can sense, despite his unseeing eyes. As the story progresses, with Hyakimaru cutting down one demon after another while also fighting humans in the way of his goal of regaining his body, red becomes the dominant color. It perfectly captures the gory glory of this anime that the original black and white couldn't, for obvious reasons. Yet there are also quiet moments of joy and peace that bathe the animation in a warm golden glow, like when Hyakimaru meets Mio by the river.
見えてないのね。ほら、ここよ。
As the color scheme suggests, Dororo's a story filled with tragedy and suffering. Its unrelenting darkness is a big part of its appeal. Now, when you think of Osamu Tezuka, you might think of Astro Boy or Kimba the White Lion, classics he wrote and animated with a children's audience in mind. These are well-loved creations with a legacy that lives to this day. In fact, the controversy surrounding Kimba continues, with many still suspecting Disney's Lion King to be a rip-off of the old Japanese story. Be that as it were, Astro Boy and Kimba are just one side of the multifaceted Tezuka. He was a prolific artist who explored territories you wouldn't normally associate with a writer of beloved children's works. Erotic, dark, surreal, fantastical, historical, religious. There was no subject or theme he didn't try out. Tezuka earned the title of Godfather of Manga for bringing the medium into the mainstream and taking it beyond to Western audiences. But it's equally right to say that with his risky choice of subjects, he ushered in a brave new world in the manga and anime industry.
綺麗。空、綺麗だ。
空
You can see Tezuka's fascination with these dark themes in Dororo, even though the anime may look a lot simpler on the outside. War and violence are the most obvious of these, but the story delves into much more uncomfortable territory as it touches on themes like prostitution, masculinity, patriarchy, and gender. So yes, this anime may take the name of a young child, but it's not necessarily for children. The darkness continues in Dororo's exploration of Japanese history, politics, and religiosity. The story set in the Warring States period, or Sengoku Jidai, which stretched for over 100 years from the mid-15th century onwards. This was an era marked by strife and political intrigue, as rival warlords constantly battled for control of each other's lands of the country, and the rule of law gave way to lawlessness. In the anime, Kagemitsu, weakened by Hyakimaru's demon-slaying spree, faces the constant threat of war from the neighboring Asakura clan. On the other side of the fence, the peasant and farming communities, including Dororo's parents, nurse a heartfelt hatred for the samurai class, blaming their wars for the sufferings inflicted upon them. Dororo's landscapes filled with wastelands, ghost towns, and starving population, the spoils of war, so to speak. But there are also towns and villages with prosperous markets and plenty of food. This perfectly captures the Sengoku era, which wasn't just a period of warfare, but also economical growth and booming trade.
この里が私のすべてよ。 何があろうと私はこの土地を守り抜く。
The anime is also replete with religious references. At the beginning, Kagemitsu not only makes a pact with the demons, but also turns his back on Buddha. Kanon, a bodhisattva revered in Japan as the goddess of mercy, is credited with saving Hyakimaru's life when the demons come for him. Jukai is passing by the stone statue of Ajizo, a guardian deity that protects children, when he trips on a rock, falls, and lands right by the banks of the river where Hyakimaru's been abandoned. And the yokai, of course, represent the animistic quality of Japanese religious systems. Animism being the belief that all objects, rocks, plants, animals, even dead people, possess distinct spirits and are hence alive. These cleverly interwoven snatches of fantasy and folklore, mixed with reality and history, make Dororo a compelling watch. Now, like Hyakimaru, I haven't said 2 words in this video about Dororo. The little orphan's endearing and mischievous, and the one bright spark in an otherwise gloomy story of revenge and death.
ならもっと早く来てくれよ。オイル一人ですっごく大変だったんだからな。
There are small moments of joy that make you smile, like when Hyakimaru calls Jukai Mama, perhaps from having heard Dororo speak of his mother many times. And there are painfully sad moments too. You may feel your heart break just a little. Dororo's divided into episodic stories, and the story of Mio may be the saddest you've seen in anime. This beautiful young girl who lives in a temple with her brood of war orphans is the face of the ugly side of war that lies beyond the battlefield. So yes, you should watch Dororo 2019. Watch it for its not-so-run-of-the-mill story, its stunning action sequences, and its monster-a-minute fun. There's plenty there to suit a lot of different tastes. Well, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit the like button if you did, and subscribe to ViniiTube for more anime content. See you again.